The Miami Dolphins kept building in year 2 under head coach Brian Flores and just missed reaching the playoffs despite posting a 10-win season. Flores turned the defense into a stout unit, with cornerback Xavier Howard recording a league-leading 10 interceptions and making first-team All-Pro. But the one question that continues to swirl around this team is how dedicated they are to their quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. Tua had an up-and-down rookie year, but given that they passed on Justin Herbert to select him, many around the organization and their fan base want to see results sooner than later.
I feel really confident coming into this second year after that injury 2 years ago.
In the NFL draft, the Dolphins focused on getting Tua more weapons, starting with his former teammate and game-breaking wideout Jaylen Waddle, who should complement wide receiver Will Fuller, whom they signed in free agency. They also selected former Hurricane Jalen Phillips to bring some heat off the edge, and safety Javon Holland in round 2 to add to an already impressive secondary. But the Dolphins' 2021 season will likely come down to the development of Tua Tagovailoa. If he takes a considerable leap in year 2, they can challenge for the AFC East. If not, they could very well be in the market for a quarterback in the 2022 NFL Draft.
Let's talk about the Dolphins with senior NFL writer Pete Prisco. Third stop around the state of Florida for training camp coverage. Pete, the last time we talked to you, you're with the Jags. As soon as you showed up, Trevor Lawrence had a bad practice. So how are things now that you've shown up there with the Dolphins?
Well, Captain Sunshine brought rain today. How about that? That's what I do when I travel around to these teams. I brought a bunch of rain. That's why we're inside today.
So tell me about practice so far, just your biggest takeaways from what you're seeing.
Well, you know, I've been critical of Tua. I didn't know if he'd be good enough in this league to be able to stand back in the pocket and make the throws. And I thought he had a really good day today. He made some really nice throws on time, in rhythm, which he didn't do a lot of last year. And they're really making an emphasis on driving the ball down the field. He has a lot of speed outside in his passing game. They want him to throw the ball down the field, and he's doing a better job with that. Now, having said that, late in the practice, he made a terrible throw that Javon Holland, the rookie safety, picked off. And those are the little things he has to work through and get better at. But he's improved. I don't know how far he's improved. We won't know until games are actually played. But he looks more confident. He looks more comfortable in the pocket.
And I know his teammates have echoed that sentiment there, that he does look more confident. Of course, he made those comments about not knowing the playbook as well as he should back in May. I mean, if you could kind of project, I know you said, look, we're going to have to wait and see what we see from him. What do you want to see? What are the biggest strides and the biggest areas where he needs to improve?
Well, he needs to get through his progressions. I think it's, you know, most of these young quarterbacks come in and they go 1-2 and get out of the pocket. You have to stay there. This game is meant to be played there. Sure, you can use your legs and get outside and make throws, but ideally you want to go 1, 2, 3, 4 and then check it down. He was going 1, 2 and then checking it down, and sometimes 1 and checking it down, and he never really got to the backside. I think that's where his growth will come. In fairness to him, he was coming off an injury. He thought he was healthy, but compared to what he is now, it's an entirely different thing. He's much healthier now. He was learning a playbook virtually. That's tough to do. So I think in fairness to him, you have to give him this year. There's been signs of improvement, but until you actually put the pads on in a real game with guys coming at you, we won't know. He struggled a little bit with the blitz today, and that's a little bit concerning, but I think that's the growth process for a young quarterback. All
right, so that's Tua. Let's talk about the weapons around him. I know we've already had to deal with a couple injuries early on in camp. They do have Devontae Parker back. Will Fuller should be back at practice soon. Correct me if I'm wrong if he's not back already. And then, of course, they drafted Tua's former teammate, wide receiver Jaylen Waddle. How much can these guys help Tua in this offense?
Well, they're a track team when they're on the field. I mean, you give those guys a baton, they might have a chance to win the 4x100-meter relay. I mean, they can fly. The problem is they're not on the field. Will Fuller, who's had a history of injuries, isn't on the field. Devontae Parker's had a hamstring injury seemingly his entire career. He's limited now, so they have to get those guys on the field. Jaylen Waddle is on the field. He made a catch today that was outstanding. We know he's tough. We know he's fast, and he has great hands. I think he's going to be an ideal addition to this offense. But those other guys have to get on the field. The guy who stole the show so far is Albert Wilson. He's been their best receiver in training camp, and he's a big guy when you look at what they want to do with their 4 receiver sets. So the other guys have to get on the field. Will Fuller has been hurt a lot of his career. Devontae Parker's had a hamstring. Those guys have to get on the field.
Pete, what's the latest with Xavier Howard that you're hearing out there? I know Still out of practice. Brian Flores says they're moving in the right direction with his contract dispute. What can you tell us from being out there?
Well, I think the Dolphins are pretty much dug in on it. I mean, this guy signed a contract a year ago, and yes, he had a great season. He had 10 picks, and he was one of the better corners in the league. But the year before, he didn't play a lot of the season, and they still gave him that contract. So you have to look at it from both sides. And I do think that they're going to figure out a way to do some tweaking to his contract. You know, he said he had a different agent. He didn't like the deal. He didn't know what he was getting. They need him on the field. But remember, this is a guy who just got this contract. You can't have guys coming in every other year ripping up new deals.
All right, let's go to the defensive side of the ball because we talked about Brian Flores there and his comments on Xavier Howard entering his third season now with an improved defense. What sort of strides do you think we can expect from this Dolphins defense in Flores this season?
Well, they have to be better against the run. You know, 4.5 per rush, and if you can't stop the run, that means you're not going to be able to rush the passer as well as you can. I think that's the focal point of the defense. You have to be able to slow down, get that number down to about 4.1, 4.0, and then I think your pass rush numbers will come up. They're very aggressive. He does a lot of great things in terms of schematically on the defensive side of the ball. That kind of covers up a little bit for the lack of real stars on that defensive front. I think Christian Wilkins, who we just talked to, has dropped some weight. He's going to be quicker. He's going to be more of a pass rusher from the inside. But this is Brian Flores will get a group of guys to play well more so than the talent on that defense. I think this is one of those defenses that will be a sum of its parts rather than have a lot of stars on it.
Pete, the Dolphins went 10-6 last season. They still were not able to snag a playoff spot, which is rare to win 10 games and not get that, but that's what happened. So they're entering the season now on a 20-year playoff win drought. Your expectations for the Dolphins this season?
It's all on Tua. If Tua takes the proper steps forward and can become a 4,000-yard passer and throw 28 touchdown passes, then the Dolphins have a legitimate chance to be a playoff team. If he doesn't take the necessary steps, I think that they're going to be struggling, and I think there's going to be some real questions about whether they picked the right quarterback. So it's all about Tua. If he plays well, they win. If he doesn't, they might be looking for another quarterback next year.
Pete Prisco, enjoy Dolphins training camp. Sorry you brought the rain there, Mr. Sunshine. We will put an alert to the state of Louisiana and New Orleans where you are headed next. Pete Prisco, thanks so much for joining us here on CBS Sports HQ. As I mentioned, Pete will hit the road yet again. We got the Saints and the Chiefs on Thursday. That's tomorrow, right? Yeah, I'm losing track of my days here, y'all. We got the Dolphins today. We just talked to Pete. We're going to talk to Evan Washburn. He is there live with the Raiders training camp and then the Seahawks on Friday.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.